Introduction to Acidity in Wine, Part 1 of 7. What is acidity in wine? Let's start with what wine is like without acidity. Without acidity, wine can feel and taste flat or flabby, which means it's dull and soft, kind of like a soda that's been open too long. Acidity equals refreshment. Think of crisp apple, ripe lemon, cool beer, and yes, carbonated bubbly soda. It's about that extra punch. Or think of it this way. Did you ever squeeze lemon on fried calamari or deep fried fish? The reason you add this dose of acidity is because it heightens the other flavors and creates a sense of harmony in your mouth. The acidity is an essential characteristic that cleanses our palates. Acidity is not only critical to the enjoyment of wine, but it's also essential to the production of wine. A wine's acidity determines how it ferments, ages, and evolves in the bottle in the long term. Wine is at its best when the acid, tannin, sugars, and alcohol levels are in balance and harmony. When you taste a balanced wine, you may find it difficult to highlight only a single component because they are so integrated. Reds usually have lower acidity than whites. The lighter the white wine, the higher the acidity level. By the way, when we're talking about acidity, we're talking about little harmless white tartaric acid crystals that may swirl around the bottle of a wine bottle or can get stuck to the underside of a cork. To determine how acidic a wine is, hold your mouth open after a sip. If you begin salivating, then your mouth is reacting to the acid. The more saliva, the more acid. A higher acid wine is more lemony, and it makes your mouth water and pucker up a bit. It makes you want to drink more. A wine's acidity is one of the fundamental traits you taste for. It's a measure of how crisp a wine is, and in fact, it's a measure of how much it makes your lips pucker. To start to get a little technical, the two main acids found naturally in grapes are tartaric and malic acids. What we usually refer to as acidity is technically called total acidity or titratable acidity. Titratable acidity is related to pH, or the concentration of acidity in the wine, but they measure different things. While titratable acidity measures amounts of acid, pH measures the strengths of those acids. Usually, if a wine has a high acid level, it will have a low pH. High acid, low pH wines are stable because their environment discourages the growth of bacteria and the like. The numbers in the scale are logarithmic, not linear. So instead of pH 4 being twice as acidic as pH 5, it's actually 10 times as acidic. Acidity in wine is reported using the two measures, pH and Ta, or titratable acidity. An easy way to think of it is pH is more on the chemical side, and titratable acidity is more about the flavor profile of those acids. Finally, the pH, or the concentration of acidity in wine, generally falls between 3.0 and 3.8. White wines have lower pH, usually in the range of 3.0 to 3.3, while red wines fall between 3.4 and 3.8. Wines above that, right above that range, often feel flabby and unbalanced, while wines below it feel sharp and sour.